Hello guys! Have you ever tried to draw an eye and the closest you got to an iris was this? Or didn't even get this far? If this is your case, don't worry, because it's precisely thinking about it that today I decided to bring you a complete tutorial, a complete guide on how to draw irises. So grab your materials because today we are going to draw a realistic iris. Everything step by step, simple and easy for beginners. If you're subscribed on this channel, it's probably because you've watched the tutorial on how to draw fur realistically or how to draw water drops. My name is Lino and I've been creating videos and tutorials to help you get to realistic drawing or to portrait drawing in general. And look what arrived for me, the YouTube 100,000 subscribers blog. I'll be unboxing that with you in one of the next videos. And about that, all I have to say is thank you for each one of you, and it will be a pleasure for me to be here bringing many other videos about drawing. And if you really want to learn realistic drawings, I've created a free lesson that you can watch by clicking in the first link of the description or in the link in the bio. In this free lesson, I'll be showing you my technique for creating realistic drawings step by step. It's 4 elements that if you learn each of them, you'll be able to create anything realistically in much less time. So click there and watch. And with that said, let's go straight to the tutorial. To start, I will make a circle at the top and another at the bottom. Because at the top, I will make the example that most beginners do with the errors to be mentioned. Next, below, I will show the correct way and the realistic way that you should draw your iris. Right? Because water drops literally don't need to be so round. With the iris, however, it's essential that the circle is well made. So, try to make a circle as best as you can and well proportioned. If you want to use some object to help you make a perfect circle, you can use it. As I mentioned, let's start with the wrong way, the way beginners most often do. And the first thing that beginners generally do, the problem is that most don't fill the pupil correctly. They just make some light lines, and each one appears in a rough way. Another detail that is very common among beginners is making the iris details with just a few lines around, like it was a sun. Some even make zigzag lines around the iris, right at the transition between the iris and its end. That was my case. I used to do it like that. And obviously our eye is not like that. That way, it will never be realistic. So let's take a look at the correct way. We will start the same way as in the example above, by drawing the pupil. The difference is that most of the time, the pupil is being cut by some light point in the iris region. It's not always, but it's very common. So we will cut a part of this circle. One other important tip is that always, in all cases, the pupil is very dark. So you need to make it very dark too with some pencil you have there, such as for example 4B or 6B. Now, this cut that we made in the pupil, we're going to draw it in a somewhat irregular way, so it doesn't look too geometric. And right after we start filling it in, completely dark. Now, another important thing, the transition between the pupil and the iris isn't exactly well defined. It kind of has a blur, a gradient coming out. The transition is very smooth. We're going to create a sort of gradient coming out of this pupil. Perfect. Another important element in the iris of a realistic drawing is what I call the iris ring, which is a dark circle usually around the iris. That brings a realistic and very cool effect to the iris. It's just a shaded circle. So let's make the circle around it too. Perfect. In the next steps, we will make this iris look like this. Now we're going to shade this iris ring that we created around the iris. For this, you can use a cotton swab. I am using a blending stump here. Now we're going to start darkening this side of the iris, which is exactly the side where we cut the pupil, where there will be a bright spot. The bright spot is always on the darker side of the iris, and it's exactly the bright spot I'm drawing here on this side. Now we're going to darken this entire region, except the region we marked for the bright spot. Then we will come back to darken it more. I'll get the cotton swab and blend this entire region we darkened. Then we will add some lines, some textures at the bottom of the iris. Just follow along as I'm doing in the video. And let's take the cotton swab again. Let's blend lightly over the region. Now that we have a clear notion of the shape of this iris, we are going to darken the area near the highlight once and for all, and also circling around the iris. Cool! We already have the contrast. Now we are going to create some lines coming out from inside the pupil.
Let's make more lines the same way, but now we will be around the bottom part of the iris.
Now only some of these lines will cross the iris towards the pupil. Let's also make some of these lines on the top part. This is the effect that should remain. Now we are going to take the cotton swab again. And we are also going to go over this highlight. We are going to make some eyelash reflections. Going over the highlight, I will take an eraser and make more lines. And reflection details. White details in this part up here of this highlight. And I will reinforce the eyelash strands again from the eyelash reflection we had created. And I'll create another small light pull right here just to add charm. But to top it off, I will create more highlight details. This time it will be in the texture of the iris, at the bottom, just creating some lines between the dark regions of the pencils we created. I'll make a slight adjustment on the edges of the reflection. Now I will just soften around the iris to make the transition smoother.
Right here between the iris and the paper. Final details and the drawing is finished. If you liked it, don't forget to click the like button. Type here in the comments what did you think of this drawing. And if you have friends who like to draw, share with them because I'm sure they will like it too. And if you want to learn realistic drawings with me, click on the first link of the description or in the link in the bio and watch the free lesson I've prepared for you.